if you do this today, it is going to help your anxiety. It's going to help you modify. It's going to help you plan, and it's going to give you more peace. Hi, my name's Devin. Today I own several multi-million-dollar companies. We started with $5,000 in a credit card. I don't know the easy way. I only know the hard way. Hey everyone, welcome to the Whiteboard Entrepreneur podcast, where I give straightforward advice to fuel the entrepreneur in all of us. I'm Devin Dickinson. Today I want to talk to you about how long you give a good idea or a good new business venture, a new project that you're undertaking. How long do you want to give that before you cut bait? And this is a question that I get all the time. And as a matter of fact, earlier today, I was talking to my cousin that is an entrepreneur himself, and we were kind of hashing out his business and kind of going over the anxiety and the joys and the stresses of his new business that he just bought, and it was about 6 months ago. And he was kind of revved up, had a lot of anxiety, and we were talking, and I was kind of trying to talk him off the ledge and really trying to get to the core of what was going on. And really, after 30, 45 minutes of conversation, we kind of boiled it down to he was actually doing pretty darn good. Like he'd only had the company for 6 months. He had a really great client. It probably was already worth buying the company. And obviously there's plenty of upside. But he was beginning to get that frustration and anxiety that we all do when we launch new projects or a new business or any type of venture, anything that you're undertaking. Maybe it's a new product at your company, and you have this anxiety, like, is this a good idea? Did I waste my money? Am I wasting my time? Do I have the right people? All of these things that wake you up at 2 a.m. and cause you anxiety around this project or this venture. And the analogy I give is that, hey, listen, this is like giving birth, right? And so, hey, sometimes with people, you give birth in like 9 months, you have this beautiful baby 9 months later. But sometimes it's like giving birth to an elephant, right? Like you've got like this 20-some month gestation period. You're like, it's 2 years. When is this thing going to come? But I don't know if you remember, but almost every business school and probably any entrepreneur you ever talk to tells you, hey, if you're going to start something, you got to give it 2 years, right? Well, that's kind of what I'm getting at here, is that most projects that you undertake, it takes you about 2 years before you get it really going and get it where you want, and you actually birth something productive. And so, we were talking about this, and I realized that the anxiety was he already knew this. He already knew he had the customer, right? He already knew that like he had some successes, but he was starting to like get ahead of himself and starting to picture like, wait, no, I need to birth this. It needs to be fully baked. Everything needs to be perfect. And I was like, it's going to be, right? Give it some time, right? It's only been 6 months. Oh, and by the way, part of those 6 months, there was holidays in there, and the business that he's in has a lot to do with budgeting. And so nobody was going to sign up for his product, December, January, probably even part of November, that people had to wait for their budgets to renew. And I was like, listen, so part of that 6 months was kind of wasted anyways. So like you have to give yourself time and patience when you're starting a new project. Now, here's what I would tell you. What the most important thing you do is, and I think about when I was going to be a new father, right? And Cindy was pregnant, and all of a sudden, you're super excited, like, this is amazing. We're gonna have a baby. And then like, and that's kind of the start of a business, right? Like, oh, I'm so excited. I've got this business, or I got this new project. I got this new venture, this new product, whatever it is. And you're revved up and you're super pumped. And then all of a sudden a couple months go by, and all of a sudden anxiety. So, Cindy been pregnant for like a month or two, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, how much do diapers cost? Oh my goodness, I just lost a big client. Oh my goodness, can we afford this? And, all of this second guessing, right, that you have with a baby. Well, you do the same thing with your company or your project or your venture or whatever it is. You start second guessing yourself. And so what happens though, at least with the baby, is about every, 6, 10 weeks, I don't even know what it is, but you go to get a checkup. And so you go in there, you're all revved up, all this anxiety. And then what the doctor says, oh, here, put on this stethoscope, right? Is that what it's called? Right? And they put on the mother's belly, and all of a sudden, boom, 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 and you hear the baby's heartbeat. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, we're going to give birth to a baby. And so the same analogy holds true, right? When you get pregnant with this idea or this project or this venture, it's very exciting, but then the anxiety sets in. And so my advice is that you need to have the 2-year plan, right? So we talk about putting together a 2-year business plan, but then you need to have checkups along the way. And so that's what my cousin and I did. I said, let's do a checkup, right? So I started asking him these questions. Hey, did you think you'd be this far? Do you think you'd have this much revenue? Did you think you'd be here? And all of a sudden we started going through it, and he's like, yeah, I did have this business plan. I did know it was going to take 2 years. And by the way, wow, I am already here at 6 months. That's pretty good. And I do have this opportunity. And all of a sudden he could hear the boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom. He could hear the heartbeat of his project. He could see that it was alive and that it was growing, that it was going somewhere. And that all of a sudden, boom, by the end of the call, he was energized. He was revved up again, and he was ready. And so my challenge to you is when you start these ventures, you start these projects, to have the right perspective. Go into it like you're giving birth to an elephant, right? That's why they tell you 2-year plans. But then you have to have checkups along the way. Discipline yourself to have these checkups so you can go in and say, hey, am I over budget? Have I spent more than I should have? Do I have as many customers as I thought I would by this particular time? And you compare where you're at against plan. And then each month you iterate and you fine tune that. And at the end of each month, I'm not saying everything's always going to be gumdrops and lollipops, because it's not. But I am telling you that it provides you the perspective, and you can actually see how you're progressing across that 2 years. Now, the flip side, the dangerous side, is it's been 5 years and you still ain't got an elephant. Well, then I'm going to tell you, like, you might not be pregnant with the right thing here, right? Like, it's probably not going to work, right? And so that's the other thing about having these benchmarks along the way, these checkups, so that you don't waste 5 years of your life. Because I would also tell you, hey, the minute you know it doesn't work, don't bury your head in the sand. Deal with it, right? Either iterate and change, or eventually you're going to have to scrap it. And so this is why it's so important. You need to be able to have perspective. You need to be able to hear that heartbeat of your project. You need to be able to see that it's growing in size, growing in scope, that it's developing the way that you thought it would, so that you can actually create and birth this project. This is not easy, right? It takes discipline, it takes rigor, and it also takes a willingness, to get honest, right? Because like I said, everything's not gumdrops and lollipops. You might not want to look and see that you are dramatically over budget. Like, a lot of us don't want to know that. Listen, not knowing is not the answer. Knowing is the answer. And so having the discipline and the rigor around this project, this product, this venture, this new company, whatever it is that you've started, that you put a 2-year plan together. And if you haven't put a 2-year plan together, hit pause right now, go back and watch about how to write a 2-year plan. But put a 2-year plan together and then do those checkups along the way. I'm Devin. This is a Whiteboard Entrepreneur. If you do this today, it is going to help your anxiety. It's going to help you modify. It's going to help you plan. And it's going to give you more peace. I'm Devin. This is a Whiteboard Entrepreneur. I know this is going to help.